Hello to my ballistic blood brothers and sisters in arms. I'm back at Pool and Auctions in Fairfield, Maine, and we're continuing this journey of looking at really neat, really interesting, really historically significant firearms that are going to be crossing their podium in a few weeks in the November of 2022 auction that they've agreed to allow us to look at, to examine, to photograph, to share, and to talk about before they end up on that next phase of whatever that journey may be. And today we're going to look at the iconic fully transferable Stoner 63A machine gun. Now I can't not smile when I'm in the presence of a Stoner 63A. I don't know if it started with the grainy black and white photos I used to see of the SEALs, the Commandos, the UDT guys in Vietnam, their photos in Soldier of Fortune. I don't know if it was what Hollywood did with the Stoner. I'm really not sure what it is. But when I got to be a little bit older and really started enjoying machine guns and appreciating them for what they were, it was an instant attraction to this belt-fed 5.56 beauty for me. Now the Stoner is a military-issued firearm, or it was to our special forces in the Vietnam era, but unlike most other military-issued firearms, it's not very well known, and there's a lot of mystique about it. And one would assume that that's because it didn't function or perform the way that it was supposed to, or the way that they thought it would. But that couldn't be further from the truth with this. The reason that the Stoner didn't make a larger splash and end up in the regular army rather than just be limited to these special operations teams is because it was thought, not incorrectly, that the Stoner required a lot of maintenance, a lot more than just a typical firearm. You know, at the time, an M16 or an M14. And the special ops groups, the SEALs, the UDT guys, had firearms maintenance as part of one of their religious rituals. I mean, these guys maintained their firearms to a T as part of their regular day, as where our regular forces didn't have that same level of maintenance with their firearms. And because of that, it was never issued outside of those groups, at least not heavily. It was simply because weapon care had to be a top priority, and the powers to be at the time didn't feel that our regular Army guys would have the ability to put that much care into it. Now, when you hear people talk about the Stoner, it's not uncommon to hear the term the Stoner system. And that's because it was really unlike every other firearm that we fielded, you know, to date. And the Stoner was actually capable of 15 different configurations from one common receiver. The Stoner was extremely flexible as to how it could be fed and utilized, and that's what allowed these 15 different configurations to be assembled. Some of them included being box-fed in a rifle configuration, box-fed in a carbine configuration, a Bren configuration, which had the receiver flipped upside down 180 degrees and mag-fed from the top, a left-hand feed configuration, which is what this particular variant is, and a right-hand configuration. So the things that you could do were unbelievable. They even had a solenoid-fired configuration, so it could be fired electronically and remotely and utilized in different areas there. It was unbelievable what this actual system is capable of doing. As we mentioned earlier, some of that modularity revolved around the way they could be fed. And other than box fed, they could utilize a 75 round, a 100 round, or a 150 round drum. This particular gun in front of us is in the left-hand feed configuration, belt fed. It utilizes both Stoner links and M27 links. And the internals of the top cover has even been marked to indicate that it's M27 link compatible. It is so clean that it's just unbelievable. There have never been any cuts on this gun or re-welds. It has all been assembled in what some people would call a lunch pail design, and I'll let you think about how that might come to be. on all Cadillac Gage parts, and then assembled by Armatage International as their model A10, or the more common model, the 63A. This isn't a DWAT or a ReWAT or a ReWeld. It was built on new Cadillac Gage parts as exactly the firearm you see right now. And it's very clear in looking at it, even deep into the internals, it hasn't seen very much use. This gun fits perfect in our rare, interesting firearm series because this particular stoner is one of only 2 assembled by Armatage International. Now, it's a gas-operated firearm that uses a rotating locking bolt, and man, is it complete. Right down to the correct carry handle, to the correct bipod, and we'll look at this a little bit closer here in a few seconds, right down to the ammo boxes. There are 3 ammo boxes with it that are filled with a variety of stoner links and M27 links, and 2 of them even have the right labeling on the top from their original issuance. It is so unusual to find a gun in this condition, this complete. One of the features that always had my attention early on, other than the sheer sexiness of this thing and it being a belt-fed 5.56, was the quick change barrel capability. So it's just a single push of the button and the barrel mechanism comes out to the front, can be replaced with another barrel, a cooler barrel, and stay right in the fight without having a firearm that's super overheated, especially if you've been putting a lot of rounds out. So let's start right at the muzzle and work our way backwards towards the stock. It has the correct flash hider on it, on the heavy barrel. It has the correct protected post front sight. The bipod is an interesting piece in itself, and I guess no better time than now to take a look at it. Now, it's an extended folding bipod, and it locks into position in several locations. First, it's locked on the gun, so you can't squeeze it and inadvertently have it loosen itself from the barrel mechanism. You have to depress a switch on the right-hand side, and then that allows you to unlock it. Now, you'll notice it also locks open, so you have to depress the switch again, and then that allows it to go back to closed in this position where it's locked again, as well as having a locking mechanism in the top that stops it from unlocking and falling off the rifle. It also has locking tabs on the interior. When they're depressed, then you can retract or extend it. It's a really neat, well thought of piece. Moving further towards the stock, it's immediately obvious that it has the correct 63A top cover as indicated by the 4 rivets that are exposed on the top. The rear sight is a folding 2-position adjustable sight as well. So you've got an adjustable peep in a battle configuration when folded, and the ability to adjust for several distances when open or extended in this position. And in this position, it's adjustable for sighting from 200 meters to 1,000 meters. And with the carry handle folded out of the way, you actually have a 22-inch sight radius. The 63A variants were full auto only, so the selector switch was inoperable on these and not necessary. And the safety is located in the trigger guard. On the right side of the firearm, just below the rear sight, below the top cover, we have the non-reciprocating charging handle. And that brings us to the back side. We have the proper stock with the sling swivel mount on the top. Now, having a relationship with Poolins, I'm used to spending time with firearms that I really like and then saying goodbye to them because they're only here for a short period of time. But this is one that I'm really going to miss. I could do for having a Stoner 63A around a lot longer. It is just such a beautiful gun. It is a completely uncut, all original part, correctly built specimen. It's such a beautiful example of the 63A. Nicer than any that I've handled in the past, ever. And I'm going to be sad to see this go. I only hope that it's someone that I know who it goes to, so I may be able to schedule visits with it again in the future. And this is going to conclude our 4-part series on 4 incredibly interesting military firearms that have come through the auction hall on this cycle. I'm so happy to be able to touch and handle and photograph and share these things and their history. What a fascinating opportunity for all of us. Now, the next video we're going to do, if the weather works with us, is we're going to look at a really nice original German MG34. And I have it on pretty good authority that that could include a little bit of live fire. So I'm really looking forward to that one. So I hope you enjoyed this peek at an absolutely gorgeous Stoner 63A. If you did, please click like, share us with your friends in your vast social media universe. Subscribe to the channel if you don't already, both on YouTube and on Rumble. If you like to talk about guns, come visit us on Facebook at facebook.com/guntestvids. And make sure you check out the merch, the really neat t-shirts that the folks at Bunker Branding are making for us. And I'll have the links in the description below the video. Till next time, have fun and be safe. I've got to somehow say goodbye to this thing.